My name is Mike Schmidt. I'm the defensive coordinator at the University of Platteville. Currently, this is actually my first year at Platteville. We finished 8-2 this year with our 2 losses coming in the league. And we're the first team left out of the playoffs in Division III. So we've had a lot of success. We've had 2 consecutive WIAC Defensive Players of the Year. We've had a run of really good talent at Platteville right now. And kind of what was interesting is that, in today's talk, I'll just kind of talk a little bit, I guess, and you guys stop me and pull me back and pull me in places wherever you want it to go, and what you want to hear and what you want to see, those kind of things. But what's kind of interesting is that I have been a 4-3 guy really since I got into coaching, and so that's all I knew, that's all I did. Coach Schmidt next door, I had the privilege of GA-ing at Mankato and doing a lot of stuff that they're doing now. And that's really where I got my start. And then was the defense coordinator at the University of Dubuque for 5 years. And that's all I ran. And I came to a place that is, I don't know if it's well known, but that's all they've ran has been a 3-4. And so kind of melding those packages together and running a lot of different things. So I'll talk a little bit about how we kind of mesh some of that stuff together concept-wise, mesh some of that together to maximize our talent, and how it kind of pieced together within the fronts and those kind of things within it. So if you got questions on what we call things and where things are at, pull me back. But that's kind of where I'm coming from today with some of this stuff. And some of these things, I think you want to. If you get focused on some things, a lot of the guys will miss out on some of the stuff that you kind of want to hear and pick apart. So I got 3 things that we'll kind of look at. We'll talk about kind of how we mix things together, how we utilize the fronts, and then we'll talk a lot of quarters coverage out of no matter what the front is, no matter what your package is, how we're going to play quarters, some of the techniques within it, and then I'll get into a little bit about some of the ball disruption, some of those kind of things, some I guess turnovers, takeaways, whatever that is, we classify it as ball disruption. And really more so than just drills on what that is, but the terminology on what guys think. What's going on in their head as they're playing, as they're attacking the football. What is the terminology? How exactly are they doing it? What are those things that they're going to do? And I'll get some clips on what that is. And then we had a really special player this year. His name was Andrew Robinson. He was the WIAC Defensive Player of the Year, an All-American for us. And I'll show you some things on how we utilized him in some unique and simple ways to move him around, to maximize his talent, to maximize his productivity. So that's just kind of where we're going and what we're doing. But first I'll kind of talk to you about, so that you know my beliefs on where this is coming from. And Coach Schmidt did a great job next door just before this talking about the important things and what's important to them. And I think that's so important to structure yourself on who you're going to be. What is your identity as a defense? So these are the important factors on what we're going to do. You're going to get what you emphasize. You hear that all the time, right? That's a pretty cliche coaching phrase. You're going to get what you emphasize. So how are you going to maximize that? If you want to, I believe this in life. Like if you want to be a millionaire, you can be a millionaire. If that's your sole goal in life, if that's your sole purpose. Your sole purpose is to lead the country in takeaways. Well, you can do a lot of things to lead the country in takeaways. You might not be sound. You might give up a lot of explosives. You might do some of this, but you can lead it in takeaways. If you want to stop the run, you can play 11 guys against the run and say, we're the #1 rush defense in the world. We're the number 958th throw defense in the world, but we're the #1 against the run. And so it's kind of figuring out how you want to structure that. What that looks like for us, I think, is key in how you build what you want to do. For us, and one thing that we'll talk about every day, this is every day. Coach Schmidt just talked about everyday drills. These are everyday words. This is what we're talking about. This determines playing time for us. This determines who's on the bus to road trips. This is it. And one phrase we'll use all the time, and you'll see it show up again, is that we're going to praise the heck out of effort. That's a bare minimum, but we're going to reward results. And how do you get all this stuff accomplished? These are 4 things that we talk about every day. They're plastered everywhere with what we don't want to do. So kind of what I alluded to initially, this is it. This is what we're going to structure everything away against. And I believe And I think it's a really good thing is that these things don't occur overall. These things on how we attack it, how we measure it, how we evaluate the job that we're doing, these 6 things are within each game. Each game is a season of itself. And obviously when you break that down, each quarter, each half is a game within itself, on how it's a season within itself, on how we're trying to evaluate how well we're doing. How well are we doing? We come in at halftime, these are what we break down. This is what we look at halftime as a staff. Is obviously you didn't know, you better know the score. We're going to figure out, how are we doing in these marks? Because you don't always know that. You can have a sense in the game, but these things give us our measurables. Within the explosive plays for us, we want to know how we're doing in explosive plays for us. That's not necessarily just takeaways, TFLs, and I'll talk a little bit about big plays here in a second too. And we want to measure these things out throughout a game. As we're going through each part, as we're putting together our game plan, this is it. Every single week with our players for our scouting report, this is what we get. We give them the how. This is how we're going to do this. This is what we're doing. We'll explain to you why we're doing it. Then we'll give them a breakdown on how we're going to do that within the scouting report. And then start to figure out as we call a game and as we go through it, what that is. Obviously, when you talk about scoring defense, it doesn't matter to us. We want to give this to our players. I don't believe in saying we want to give up 10 points a game. Don't believe in that. Because what if you give up 10 points a game and you lose? What does that tell to your players about your offensive side of the football? What does that tell the other guys about that? That's not, to me, I don't want to do that. Because at the same time, I don't want to say, well, we won 55-54. I've been in some of those games, my friends. And say, well, that wasn't good enough. That to me, I don't believe in that personally. I really don't. So we're going to figure out what is the end of that thing, and then we'll chart it, because I really believe this. I see it in practice. I've seen it in practice on teams that I've had that I didn't do a good enough job coaching them, that it wasn't a big enough emphasis on not giving up scoring plays in practice. Guys, give up scoring plays in practice, give up scoring plays in games. I just believe that you see that. And so it's charting that and pointing that out. That's to say, because sometimes you get, gosh, that guy gets beat a lot. Well, sometimes when you break it down, that guy gave up 6 touchdowns in Skelly. I mean, is that guy competing? What are we doing? Are we setting them up for failure? It's figuring that thing out, and so that our players are aware that these are the expectations for those guys. Obviously, we're gonna chart ball disruption every day. So we have the thing that goes up after every practice that we chart all the different parts of ball disruption. I'll get into that later on what that is, on what those things are. But we break down on what the emphasis is. And as you see on the 4th point down to me is that we are going to determine, I mean, if there's 2 guys, and this is what we say is important, and one guy constantly disrupts the football. He's constantly knocking the football. He's constantly in on interceptions. That guy's going to play. If that's important to us, this other guy might have great footwork. We might really like him on stuff, and those kind of whatever that is, but the guy that's disrupting the football is going to play. To me, that's an important thing. Obviously, we're going to scoop and score everything that we do. I got a good story about that. So we scoop and score everything. Every time ball's on the ground, practice, pick it up, scoop and score. We were in a game one time. Our offense threw an interception, and the opposing team took the ball over at the 20-yard line, going in. And on 3rd down, they threw a pass to the running back. He was dropped it. It was a forward pass. Our defensive lineman picked it up and ran with it. Obviously, the play is dead. The running back came and tackled him for a late hit because the play was dead. It was a 15-yard penalty and moved them out of scoring range. I mean, so it's little things like that to emphasize some of those things as you go. We talk about defensive explosives. And one thing to me, when you talk about defensive explosives, TFL sacks, pass breakups, getting off the field on 3rd down, those kind of things, we're going to chart that. We're going to figure out what those things are. We're going to chart it. But to me, we talk about this all the time. Big plays. What is a big play? What does that mean? Well, we want to have a little bit of leeway with what a big play is. A guy that he doesn't give up extra hitting yardage on the end of a run. Maybe it's 2nd and 8, and you give up a run, and a guy makes a really good play to make it 3rd and 2, and they make it punt. That's a big play. It doesn't show up in his stats. It doesn't show up in a lot of things. A lot of people forget about it. We want to emphasize how important that is to that guy. So we chart it. That's a big play. That to us is an explosive play. Because that guy saved us an extra set of downs. That guy possibly saved us an extra set of points. And so emphasizing what that is to our guys is crucial. Okay, so this part here, so rushing defense. So I said that we want to structure what we do around how we think the key to win the game is. So we want to structure our scheme around what we think it is to win the football game. So we're going to have stuff that's going to fit 9 guys to the run. If this is important, we don't have passing yards per game up as one of our most important things to take away. We don't have whatever that is. I mean, when we talk about this, it's again, these parts, the run fit part of it, how we design, where the fits are at, how we stop their top plays. That's one thing I think we do pretty well. We're not going to say, this is what we run, this is what we play, this is what we're going to always play. There's some of that, but at the same time, we want to take away everybody's best play. We want to, in terms of a body structure, we don't want to have them throw with the ball with their left hand or with their right hand. Make them throw with their left hand. Make them beat you with things that are not their strength, not what they do. So every day we meet as a defense staff. We'll say, what are your ABCs today? Okay, well, our agility work is this. Whatever that might be within each position group. These are footwork drills. These are extra agility things, trying to develop athleticism, trying to develop the muscle memory and what that is. The next part is, okay, what's your block construction drill? How do you structure that? What is that thing? The last part is the contact portion of it. Are we doing contact together? Are we doing the tackling drills together? Are we, how are we structuring that into the day? But every one of our guys, when we get together, these need to be addressed in our individual time. These need to be addressed in our group time. How are we structuring this so that we are conscious of it as a staff? And then the last part of rushing defense, I believe in this so much. That so much of your rushing defense is built upon all the hidden yardage that you allow. That a guy turns a 2-yard run into a 4-yard run. Well, now it's 4 yards to carry. Now it's 2nd and 6 instead of 2nd and 8. A guy turns a 1-yard run into a 6-yard run. Whatever those things are. That to me is we're constantly trying to point out, okay, so why did this happen? Why did this 6-yard run happen? What was the fundamental breakdown of what you're doing in the hidden yardage version of what happened to you? And that's, those are some of the deal on that. We'll say this every single day during the week, that we're trying to turn touchdowns into field goals into punts, and punts into field position. And how do we work that? And how do we emphasize that? And what are the practice periods that we do? What are the coverages that we're playing? I can tell you this, we're not going to play a lot of cover 2 in the red zone. Those kind of things, on what's in your call bag. What do you have to grab out of that thing? And then the last part, I think, is the field goal block team. You're the defensive coach coaching that. That better be part of your responsibility. That's not the special teams coordinator that screwed that up or somebody that didn't coach that hard enough. Those are your players. And if a guy's going to take that play off, he better take a play off where you remove him from the game on the other downs and make that a point of emphasis. That's something that we talk about with our head coach all the time. A guy is not coming off the field on specials. He's going to get his rest on defense, not on special teams. If he's the best guy for the field goal block team, or the punt team, or the kickoff team, whatever that is, he's going to play those plays. He's not getting rest on that play. I know that sounds, to be honest with you, we don't have our best players always on every single special team to prevent injuries, but if there's a guy that's going to be that, we're going to make him take rest on defense, not on special teams. He doesn't get to say, I'm gassed, I'm not on the field goal block team. No, if you're gassed, you're not on the defensive team. And somebody else is in there to develop some of that depth within that thing. And then we want to make sure that our guys are fully clear on all of our expectations. And this part right here is exactly what we give to our guys. So that we can, I think some of the 3D coaching that was going on here in this room prior to this, what drives me nuts is when a coach, and you see this stuff all the time, when guys go crazy on a guy for not having his shirt tucked in or something. Did he know he's supposed to have his shirt tucked in? Or what are those things? Does the guy know what's going on? Does he know that he's not the starter? Does he know that he's not playing now? Have we communicated this? Do we have a relationship built with that guy so that we can figure this out? So this is stuff that we flash these expectations up every other week. It's built into our weekly schedule. Remember our expectations. This is what we expect you to do. And all the little things that we have. And one thing that that number 3 there, you hear guys talking, you hear guys that will coach another guy or coach another position. And I want guys to coach guys up in positive ways. I want guys to help guys out. But I don't want a linebacker going back to tell a corner what he's supposed to be doing. That linebacker better not even know what happened to that corner on the previous play. His ass better be up getting the call, getting himself ready to play, not coaching the other guy in the backside of that thing. So, all those little expectations to make sure that everybody knows what will be happening. Again, effort, we'll praise the hell out of effort, but we're going to reward results with what it is. Okay, so again, we melded some packages together, 3-4, 4-3. We put this thing together. We really had 3-4 personnel. My head coach said when he hired me, he's like, hey, you're going to run a 3-4. I said, okay, we'll call it whatever you want to call it, coach. We're going to run some different things out of it and some different variations out of what that is. But some of the mechanics on what we look like, on what it is, on where that thing goes to. And really, so this, the bottom part here now. So we're going to play this with our base personnel. And what happened this year for us was that our will backer, so on the bottom screen there, the field is set to the left here. The field is set to the left. We're on the defense's right hash mark. Our will linebacker was 6'6", 240 pounds. We were not going to say that we didn't. If I was my head coach and we gave up a throw on a third down, he said, I got a guy that's 6'6", 240 pounds that's dropping into space and not rushing, I'd say, excuse me, why is that huge creature not rushing the quarterback right now? That's what I would say if I was the head coach. So, whatever our strength is, that guy happened to be our best guy, so he was in the rush almost 90% of the time this year. Does that make us a 3-4? Probably not. Probably not. So in this coming year, that guy's gone. We're going to personnel like crazy, and that guy, that will position is going to be a true outside backer. He'll be a guy that's 6 foot, 215, 220 pounds. That's who that guy will be. So now we're going to have to be a little more creative than what we were, not just sit here and play a 4-3 with a rush guy. We're going to have to take a guy and drop him out and figure out how that front fits together and what that is. But we're going to play these guys here. All these guys are going to work together. So our corner, our field safety, our Sam, our Fox, our end, and our nose, they'll always, always, always work together towards the field. They'll always be our field team. This past year, 82%, a little higher than normal actually for what it's been, but 82% of our snaps were on a hash. It's because one game a team ran it into their sideline I think it was like 60 times. Anyway, so we had a higher percentage that was actually on a hash this year, but then you got to practice being in the middle of the field, and that goes to the strength, obviously on what that's going to be, wherever the passing strength is going to be at. Passing strength meaning these two guys, not necessarily where the tight end is at. To us, we're gonna set guys to the passing strength all the time, whatever that might be. And then our tackle, our monster, our will, our boundary safety, and our half corner they'll be always the guys that travel together. Those will be the guys that play into the boundary. How would we structure who those guys are, personnel-wise? How would we structure the ability levels on these guys? Let's start in the back end because that's where I think you got to structure it for us. That guy's going to be our best man corner. We're going to see most of our throw game into the boundary. That's the guy that's going to have to lock up and play on an X, play by himself when we need him to. That's going to be our best man coverage corner right there. That's who that guy's going to be. Who's this guy between these two? Our field safety is going to have a little more range. Generally, we want him to be a taller guy. With what that is, so when we recruit, we start to put that guy into that spot, and what that looks like, he'll have a little more space to deal with. That's where a lot of your throw is going to get attacked down your field side hash mark for us anyway. And this guy's going to be more of your thumper. That guy's going to have to be the guy that comes down. You guys that were in the next room, you guys saw Mankato safeties coming down in there, and they're just getting their asses drilled, the 8 gaps. Those are going to be our guys doing that kind of thing too. That's going to be that guy in our boundary. Our field corner is going to be our better football player. If I was a high school coach, that guy would be like my quarterback. He's a lot more protected. We're going to play him off. He's going to be our. He's got to be a little bit smarter as to splits and alignments and where that thing goes, but that's who that guy is going to be. And then up front, it's really just figuring out how you want to structure your games, how you want to structure your front, and what your front really is, because really that's where it will all tie into us. And I know it's going to be tough to kind of see some of these fronts, but when we played this year, we have these these 6 fronts that are our base fronts that go in like day one. Then we have an opposite version of each one of those fronts that it's going to be. So we'll have an opposite version of what that is. Let me explain that for a second to you. So for Okie, in our what we call Okie, we're going to play with 2 4-eyes with our end and will be our tackle. We'll play with 2 4-eyes and a zeroed nose with what that is. This guy's going to play on the outside, whether that's a 5 or a 9. That's where he's going to play. Same with Sam. He gets a tight end. He's going to come up on the line of scrimmage. If he doesn't, he's going to play out in space. What's the opposite of Okie? We play, I guess because it's Oklahoma, I don't know. We call it a front Sooner. So now in Sooner, everybody just bumped down. So our tackle was in the 0. Our will was there. Our nose bumped out to a 4-eye. Our end bumped out to the spot there. And our monster linebacker came up and played on the edge there. So, we wanted to have a lot of variations, a lot of different looks. It's the same thing. But we want to call plays for our players, not the scheme, not what the playbook says, not what that is, but where the best guys are. Where can I put my best players at? So sometimes we play Okie with our end would be in here. Sometimes we'd slide it the other way. Same with Indy. So in Indy, we could bump these guys all over. So now your end's there, your nose is there, your tackle's there, and your will's there. There's a lot of different looks that we would give to different teams based on our personnel matchup. If I can put a linebacker, if I can put our monster, we had 3 freaks, just creatures on defense this year. They were freaks. They're some of the best guys I'll ever coach. Like I said, that guy was 6'6", 240 pounds. Good coaching, coach. Just line them up and tell them to go. This guy was the player of the year. This guy was 6'3", 240 pounds and an All-American for us. Those guys were good players. But, that being the case, we weren't just going to say, well, we'll line them up in their spot and they play their spot. We're going to move them around to where we can expose weaknesses on the offense and where we can maximize their talent on what they can do out of that. And then obviously within our bench and field fronts, our bench front would just tell us we talk a lot on these things, is where does the 3 technique set up? So here, the 3 technique is into the boundary. If it were field, the 3 technique would be to the field in there. So it's just different ways to structure what that looks like and what that is for our guys. So our coverages, let's talk just, and really what we'll do, and this is, to me, this is what I believe in, is plain quarters coverage. I think that if you can teach this version of what you can build a lot of different things off of that. You can build in your cover 3 package if that's what you're going to be. You can build in a cover 2 package. You can build in some man, whatever that is. We always talk about it in majors and minors. We're going to major in quarters. That's going to be our major. We may have a minor or 2. We may minor in cover 2. We may minor in some cover 3. We may minor in some blitzes. But we're going to major in quarters. We're going to take some other classes throughout our time, but we're going to major in quarters. This is what we're going to be, because we can react off of anything. It's like I always tell guys that and there's 2 blitzes that we have are like my pacifiers. Things breaking loose, my pacifier. I go to my happy place, I go to my safe space, we're going to call quarters, we're going to call our certain blitzes, and that's what we're going to do. Because if things are breaking loose, this is safe, we can do this against anything. And what that's going to be for our terminology in the back end. It's really simple to teach for me the way that we put it together. For me, quarters is not a zone coverage. It is a man coverage. It is a man coverage over the top with some underneath help and underneath zone. But it is going to be man coverage is what it's going to be for us when we play quarters and what those things look like. So it's trying to figure out to our guys. We're going to major in a cutoff position. Where when I'm a defensive back, whether I'm playing from press or whether I'm playing from off, I'm going to major in that I'm playing in a cutoff position. I can reach out, and if this receiver's facing me, I can touch his front pocket, wherever that's at. And they need to know within each structure of whatever one of our minors might be, whatever zone covers we might have, that we would be in a trail position. We need to know the difference on where that takes my alignment, my leverage, and where that takes then not only my leverage, but where does that take my stance and my eyes when I'm in either one of these parts. So when we're talking quarters, when I'm talking what we call match coverage is what we call it. When we're talking quarters coverage, we're always going to be in a cutoff position. Meaning our goal is to be on top of the receiver, whether that's an off man or whether that's in press man. I think a lot of things get confused in playing bump and run, and I see corners that'll play bump and run, and their first step, they're all by themselves, whether it's zero coverage or whatever that is, they're going to take a step forward. I'm like, shoot, you better get your butt back, because now you're going to be underneath that man. And it's really trying to figure out, is to convey to the secondary guys, what is going on in my head? What is coach telling me by this coverage? I say this to our guys all the time. I need you on my wavelength. I need you to understand when I call this coverage, this is what I'm trying to get out of it. When it's 3rd and 5 and we call quarters, when we call man coverage across the board with no help over the top, you better be impressed. I'm telling you, I want you in man coverage on this guy right now. So I need you to know what I'm trying to talk to you about. I need you to understand where I'm trying to go with this thing. And our trail position is going to be only used when I have immediate help from my safety, if I'm a corner. If I'm in a trail position, I have immediate help right now over the top, whether that's cover 2 or a rolled cover 3, whether that's cover 2 man, whatever that is, I need to have immediate help. And I need to know that. Those are the only times we're going to be in the trail position. Otherwise, I should reach out and touch that guy's front pocket. Okay, so here's our progression from what we teach. And if you're going to play quarters, whether that's an off man or press man, to me, these are the most important parts that have to go through the mind of the corner. So when we're talking man, if you don't have corners that you think you can teach man, if you don't think guys that compete that way, if you don't think you guys that can have guys that rush the quarterback, don't play quarters. Don't play man coverage. To me, playing man coverage, especially press man coverage, comes down to the repetition of the technique. I really believe that. I think you can teach. There's so much that can get taken away from that you can do against the guy by teaching the hell out of technique, by just repping the same technique over and over with your corners and teaching the right kind of quarters, the right kind of press man technique. And if you got any sort of a halfway decent guy that wants to compete, he'll be able to play it for you. Not every down, not all the time, maybe not against the best player in the state, maybe not against the best quarterback in your conference, but he'll be able to do it. I really believe that. So we do the same progression of teaching our off and our press man, so that when we get to a game, this is what we have to recognize. We teach in terms of an algorithm. If I see this, this is what I do. We want them to go through that in their head. So the first thing they need to recognize is, what's the split tell us? The first thing we do on Sundays or Mondays after games for us, when we're bringing on our next opponent, is figure out, what does the split tell me? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to track. We're going to track every single one of their runs, because that's going to give me my home base for those guys out of each coverage. If it's a 3-by-1 and on the run the X lines up in the middle of the numbers, that's his base alignment. That's where he wants to be. He wants to be at home on the numbers. So anytime now that he starts to vary wider than the numbers, something's up. Anytime he's inside the numbers, something's up. You understand my point? So we're going to track that every day. So the first meeting that we have when we start to talk about our opponents, or even in fall camp when we start to play against our own team, is we're trying to figure out, what does this split tell me? We want you thinking big picture here. What is this split telling me? Where does it go? What does it do? Where is it taking me to? Because now I need to know that. Because if I have a 3-by-1, for instance, and the X has a tight split, he's only doing really 2 things, is all he's really doing. it's gonna be a run and he's going to crack somebody, or he's going to run something outside. He's not going to run an inside breaking route from a tight split. Something's coming back out to me. So now, I don't want to be pressed on that guy if he has a tight split. I want to get off and out and recognize what's going on. Because there's a third thing that he could do, and that's what? Go vertical. And now I want to protect against my fatal. Whatever is a play that I can't survive to the next play from, I need to defend that. So now that guy has three options. He's gonna crack on somebody inside, which means that I'm gonna be the defender that I need to get people to rally to me. Or he's gonna run an outside breaking route, or he can go vertical. Well, if I'm off, I can defend all of those things. So we're gonna recognize what that split tells me. The other one that we're gonna track is, what does the stance tell me? Because we play a bunch of teams, not one or two. I mean, we've had like 3 or 4 this year, I think, where an offensive receiver's split of his feet will tell us where he's going and what he's doing. If he has a wide split and his outside foot is forward, what does that tell me? If he has a wide split and his inside foot is forward, what does that tell me? And so we'll have a breakdown of every one of those things for our corners every single week, and we'll rep that thing. One thing that we tell guys, and it sounds kind of stupid, we're always like, make it make sense. What is that guy trying to tell you? What is his pre-snap alignment telling you? So you can take away a lot of things. Are you going to get beat playing man coverage? Yeah, you're going to get beat on some things. Don't allow your fatal. Give yourself an opportunity to play those things. And now you can cut some of the guesswork out of it. You can cut some of the guesswork out of it. So those things have told us what it is. The next part of that thing is going to be when we talk corners and quarters. And again, if you don't have a corner that can play quarters, or if you can't teach them how to play really good man technique, you don't play it. I would just tell you that, don't play it. And we had some guys that we didn't feel comfortable with this year, and we got out of it for a long stretch of time. We got out of playing it, and then we came back to it later because we got better. We improved as the year went on, and then our last game of the year, we played it really well. Had a kid that played it really well by the time he had gotten better with it. So we got that part. So now, if you're going to play, the next part is the release. What does the release tell me? This can be off man. This can be press man. If that guy has what is his release telling me that he's going to be doing? And how can I defend it? Again, if I'm going to play man coverage, we want to get vertical separation on this guy to let him do his thing. What is he going to do? I want to get backwards off the ball on the snap to give him himself to figure out his release. And then we're always going to offhand wherever that goes. I don't want to unsnap the ball. I don't want to two-hand get my hands out. Because now I'm not going to be able to open my hips. My hips can't ever go anywhere. I want to get back so that I can stay in what kind of a position? A cutoff position. I want to get back so that I can press down on a guy. If he has an inside breaking route on the snap of the football, that I can squish this thing down flat to the LOS. If he has an outside breaking route for me, I want to offhand it so I can get into his pocket and climb back and stay in his front pocket, not his back pocket, in our cutoff position. Want to evaluate the release. If you're playing man, if you're playing off man, if you're going to be looking at a guy and you're playing off man, you better teach the hell out of how to read a stem. My opinion, not preaching to you, sorry, sometimes it comes off like that, but my opinion is that you should teach the hell out of how to read a stem. If a guy has an outside alignment, he has a wide split on you, and he takes an outside release, something's happening to the perimeter. You better work your butt over to the perimeter if you're the corner. If he has a wide split and he takes an inside release, you better be driving on that thing because it's either going to push up into a post or it's going to get flat into a slant. And that's how we want him to think because we want to defend the post before we defend the slant. But what we're trying to do here is if we're going to play off man, again, some guys teach it at 8, 7, 5, 4.5. Whatever your guy feels comfortable with, whatever you feel comfortable with teaching. But you got to read the stem. You got to read where that guy's going to take you. Where is he trying to stem you to go? And what does that tell you? Because now you want to break on anything that of what the route, what the release, what the stem is going to tell you. You want to break down on top of it so you can stay in front of it. The last part on the stem is that if my inside leverage, not my outside, because your outside leverage, if it gets broken, sometimes we tell them to give up your outside leverage. If our inside leverage ever gets broken by a stem or a release, we are going to undercut that puppy right now. We're instantly going to undercut it. Why? Because if it's a good throw, I'm not making the play anyway. And one thing that I don't allow our guys to do, like when we do our reps, I don't ever have a 90-degree break when we're working the breaks of our guys. Because I feel like if a guy breaks so I'm playing an off-man technique, ball's inside here. And this guy's stem takes me inside, and he breaks my inside leverage. Now, the only thing that he can do is push me vertical to allow the quarterback to throw him open. Well, if I undercut this thing, even though I don't make it, but by staying on the same plane with this guy, I never intersect him. He just runs away from me. I never intersect the guy. If a wideout runs a dig, and I don't break to intersect it, he'll just run away from me. If I get pushed vertical and a guy runs a dig, and I make a 90-degree break, I've just started running a race that I started 4 or 5 yards behind it. I'll never catch him. And so we're constantly trying to teach the fact of you've got to find the intersection point, wherever that's going to be. So for us, we're going to teach the undercut, because even if I undercut him and he gets over my head, the hardest throw for a quarterback to make, Andy, is one going straight over a guy's head. And there's a corner or a defender underneath that. The hardest throw for a quarterback to make is to push a ball over somebody's head straight down the field. So we want to try to make him do that, is to fit it in. And even if you're beat on the undercut, and you're working this way, in a corner, you've undercut it, and he still climbed vertically on you. He's running on the field. What is that wideout going to do? He is going to run the hell away from you as fast as he can. He's just going to keep going because you're right in his pocket. And that throw for the quarterback is so hard to make, so difficult. What happens most of the time? It's an underthrown ball back to where the guy's at. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to teach within the stem and within the undercut once our inside leverage is broken. And then, as the play progresses, we're going to find and play through his hands. Find and play through his hands as the play progresses to our guys. So we talk. There's on the wide receiver for a corner. Still talking corners right now. We call it ink or orc, wherever that thing is going to be at. Again, we're going to be ink all the time, unless his split tells me to go outside. Unless his split tells me to line up in an orc position. We're going to line up inside on what that is. So we call it magic ink. So let's get to the safeties. Talk about where those guys line up at, where they look, what they're doing, where they are. Again, don't make it too difficult for what these guys have to do in man coverage. If it's a safety to the formation, generally your field side safety. If he has just the tight end, that could be just a tight end and no split. That could be a tight end and a wing. That could be a tight end and a Z. Whatever that is, to his side. He's going to line up 2 by 8, 2 yards outside, 8 yards deep off of the tight end, looking at the tight end. Now you say, Coach, didn't you say that you got to play inside leverage to play man coverage on what that is? Now you're telling the guy to line up outside on the tight end. We're going to, number one, it's for a force run positioning to make sure that we're lined up on and provide some sort of a secondary force for our men. And secondly, our inside backer, he's taught this too. Hey, guess what? Your safety's lining up outside that tight end. So on throw, what do you think that means for you, outside linebacker? You better get his butt collision and widened 2 yards. That's what the alignment is telling to that outside linebacker. That he better collision that tight end, so he better be in a position that he can play the run and also collision the tight end to widen his release at least 2 yards. There's the alignment on what that is. If we have 2 or 3 open, doesn't matter. Does not change our position. Does not change our position. Whether we have 1 receiver wide, whether we have 2 open receivers or a third in like a 3 by 1 third open. Now number 3 means nothing to me because number 2 is my man as a safety. The corners have the number 1s. Safeties are both 2 matchers. They have the number 2 receiver, whether it's a tight end or whether it's going to be a wideout. Doesn't matter. Where there's keys. If he has a tight end that he's lined up on, that's his key. He's looking right at the tight end. Tight ends will tell you all the time what's happening for the safety anyway. It'll tell him where his reaction, where his key is going to go. If he has 2 open or 3 open, the good ones look into the backfield and then get to number 2. Most of our guys can't do that. That's clinic talk to me. Most of our guys can't do that. We've had one guy in the past couple years that was able to read into the backfield and also play onto his man, so we could use him a little bit more in run support. The rest of them, we're just looking at number 2. That's our guy. We're going to protect our fatal and play number 2. That's where our eyes are at. That's where our alignment's at. That's where we're playing. That's what we're doing. So when we talk about what this is, so when we talk about where our run responsibility is at, where it breaks down, where it goes, if I get run to me, I'm going to come down on it. If I get run away, cut back, boot, reverse. One thing that we don't allow, and we rep this 2 times a week within what we have. If I get run that goes away from me from a tight end, a safety naturally wants to come down here, but that's not where he's going to be needed. We want him to stay on his fence line so that even if he has to insert into the cutback or the reverse, now he has an angle obviously for boot and reverse. But if it's run, we don't want to be taking a banana path to collision at 4 and now it drags me to 6. We want to come to 6, 8 or 6 and then play it straight forward, if that makes sense to you. That's why we always tell them when run goes away to stay on your fence line. Stay back with depth. Don't fight the temptation to come down to the LOS. Stay down on it. If we get any sort of bubble, our safety has it. Our safety has the bubble of number 2. Anything we do, obviously cover 2 is going to be a little bit different, but any sort of man coverage quarters that we're going to play, or a version of 2 read or whatever what we're going to do, if we have a 2 bubble and it opens away from me, that's the safety's responsibility. He's going to run down the bubble. If it's a 3 bubble, the outside backer will always have that part of it. Why is this important? Because when we get to this part of it right here, this is it, right here. So if I'm a 2-matcher as a safety, if he goes vertical past 5 yards, he's mine. I've got him. He's my guy. I follow him from now until forever. He's my man. I have him. If number 2 goes in or out before 5 yards, we're going to let the linebacker take it. That's why it's an underneath zone with a man concept over the top for us. So it's simple. It's really easy to play. He goes in there. What if it's at 6 yards? What if it's at 7? What if he does that and he starts it at 5, but then he rolls it to 7? Coach, what is that thing? What if we have 2 guys on him? It's all right. Especially for the safety, you should be the one that always verifies that. You should be the one that sees it happening. And you should always verify with what that linebacker is taking and where he's going to be at. Again, we're going to try to read into the uncovers and verify with our number 2s. We're going to try to read into the backfield if we can. Again, last 3 years I've had one guy that can do that. So that's a lot of clinic talk. A lot of times we just end up eyeballing that number 2 receiver. Any questions before I move on to this part? Any questions for me on that part? You're either really bored or it's very thorough, or both. That's okay too, right?
How about rules against motion?
Rules against motion. See, this is why we do it, because the motion part is taken care of by our rules. So if I get especially a lot of times what we'll see is we will see here's a real common one that we get a lot. This would be probably the most common that we get, is if we have the field to the left and that Z receiver, whether he's going to go back into orbit, whether he's going to go straight across, whether they're going to catch and do the throw to him, whatever that is, that to us is a number 3 bubble. He's already running outside. That's a number 3 bubble. So we always break that down into what is happening, because now the backside safety doesn't have to run, but we got to work to who's now your number 1 for the corner. That tight end is. He's got to work himself back up on top of the tight end. And where that goes. So we're going to bump off wherever the motion goes. But if I have a motion guy going to a single receiver side, that's a 2 bubble. Outside backer is playing the run. The field side safety now takes the 2 bubble. Wherever that goes. If it's here, it's a 3 bubble. This is a 3 bubble to us. So now the outside backer, he takes the 3 bubble. The field safety, nothing changes for him. His eyes are still on his number 2. That's his guy wherever he goes. And these guys got to bump off where my eyes go. His eyes will get right to the backfield. So that if we get that quarterback power business and the read off of that thing, that safety is the free hitter. The backside safety is going to come down and pound somebody in the chest somewhere down in there. That answer? Ball disruption. I got about 13 minutes. That's what my computer says. I don't know if that's right or not. I always think somebody's going to like hack into my stuff and like jack with me on my phone. So he's like, oh, well, your phone is right? Somebody's just going to jack around with me and I'd just be lost. Never know what's going on. Ball disruption. I want to hit on two of these and I'll get some clips on what they look like in the emphasis. We led the WIC in turnovers forced this year. We had a really good job disrupting football. We had a couple guys that literally now every time they go to tackle somebody, I literally thought they were going to cause a turnover. Every time. They were good. They really bought into what we were talking about. And these are really some of the things that we rep. These are what we talk about. And again, the point that I'm trying to make with this part for you guys is the verbiage that goes on in the player's head when he sees this happening. We want to always create alerts. I always tell guys, we always want to set alarms in your brain. We're trying to set alarms that when I see this thing happening, this is the word that goes into my head. This is the technique that goes into my head so I can transfer that into my technique. So when we talk about this, we want to always, if I have the ball too, because again, if I have say this is a defender here for me, and I'm on an angle and I'm the ball carrier, and the ball's away, my likelihood of getting that football on an angle with the ball and the proper arm away from me is not very good. It's not a very good, that's not a high percentage for me. That'll be very difficult for me to do that. However, if that man has the ball in his arm next to me now, I want to secure the tackle and then pull the lawnmower string. Obviously, that's what everybody teaches, ripping the ball out, whatever that is. But we always want to make sure they know, if I don't see the ball on an angle tackle, if I don't see the ball on an open field tackle, I got to secure the tackle, that's it. If the ball is to me and I see that man on an angle tackle, lawnmower, I'm securing them lawnmower, I'm securing them lawnmower, I'm securing them lawnmower. And our guys, we drill it, it's like it's just memorization for them. It's asking them this, it's giving them quizzes on this, because this is important. This is a very important thing in what we're going to try to do. The other two are when I have a ball carrier that's in front of me, I am going to tackle him from behind. One thing that I see happen a lot is when the ball is away from me. I'm running this man down. I'm running at him. He's running away from me. And the ball is in the far arm. It's away from me. The ball is far. What happens a lot is you have a tendency to grab this man on the close side. What does he do when you grab him? He turns towards you because you're stopping the momentum of that part of his body. You have turned that man and the ball is now away from you. You have no shot to get the football. So we're going to teach it as a punch and a clamp. To work the punch part of it as I clamp and as I finish the tackle behind it. I want to punch and then clamp. And our guys say that that's what they think. That's what is in their head. If I have the ball close to me, I don't want to punch. I don't want to punch the ball that's close to me because once I do that, I might not ever catch him again to ever secure a tackle. So now as I'm running and I see that ball that's close to me, I want to double clamp and then rip the ball up, back to our lawnmower technique. But I want to double clamp and then rip the ball up. And I've got really good looks at all of these, at all of those things within it. Really good looks at exactly what that looks like. And we rep that. We rep that every single day in the circuit. We do some version of ball disruption every single day in practice. Whether it's a circuit or just a drill within our groups. But those three on getting the football out, those are the words we want in their head. Now when you attack a quarterback, there are two things that when you get to the quarterback, you're either going to be on his front side, if he's a right-handed quarterback, you're either going to be on his front side, or you're going to be on his blind side. One of those things is going to be happening. The other two, is that he's throwing the ball. One, I have a defender between me, and one, I don't, but I can't get there in time. If that's the case, I want to match his hands. I want to try to match where his hand is at. I want to give him a high five. I want to Air Jordan that man, as I can't get there. There's not a defender between me, but I need to get there. I want to try to get and match his hands and Air Jordan where that's at. If I do have a blocker between us, I want to get whatever hands I can get up. I want to disengage and get whatever those hands are up, obviously. But we're going to rep those things. We're going to rep it. We're going to practice that. We're going to practice the timing. We're going to practice what that looks like. And then if we practice that, we better practice the counter off of that. We're then going to practice, what if he doesn't throw the ball? And we've all seen that, right? He pumps it, he jumps, guy runs away, and he's like, why did he jump? Why did he jump? Oh gosh, why did he jump? Because he's being taught to do that. Chill out. It's okay. I screwed up. Get it the next play. Then if I'm attacking the quarterback, if I'm on his front side, I want to always, we don't want to get here because I'm going to run by him. I want to reach across and I want to try to break his arm. I want to try to break his arm backwards as he's throwing the ball to dislodge that arm. I want to break it backwards. I'm not talking break his arm physically. I'm talking about I want to break it backwards, where that thing's at. So I want to reach across to get it. And if it's from his blind side, again, same thing. If I'm attacking a quarterback from his blind side, and I run in to hit this man, and I hit him here, where's his body going to turn? This way, and I never have a shot at the football. This was our biggest thing. We ended up getting a ton of stuff off of it. If I'm attacking that man, I want to get around to the tomahawk and clamp as I work myself by. Obviously, that takes a lot of repetition, but I think it's really well worth it. I really do. I think it's a well worth it activity for us because we saw a noticeable difference, especially once we got a lot more of the emphasis within it. I'll show you some of these things when they're in action here, doing it. Oh. Anybody see that? Is that going to be all right? We'll see. We'll be all right. So we got a blitz coming in number 3 down here. He's our will linebacker. This guy said it was 6'6". He's going to work an inside stunt here. I'm sorry, there's the next guy inside. He's hiding in there. He's going to come across. So now, what he's working a punch and clamp. You see how he punches at the ball, right there. He's going to work behind it, he rips it out. See his right hand rip that thing out? Rips it out. You get a decent look at it, not a great look at it here, but we always, he punch, he doesn't come behind it. He puts his hand on the ball first, rips it out second. Puts it on it, rips it out, pulls it out. Our football with what it is. Here you can see it, this is the look that you're going to get on it here. What's happening here now, this number 8 right here, this guy right there. So he's going to take out a block, and now the ball comes behind him. Watch what he does. He's going to, the ball's going to be away, he's going to punch it right there. And the clamp. You see his right hand then locking onto it. But you see him whip behind it as he realizes that it's going on. Punches it, knocks the ball out, puts us up 21-0. Huge play in the game. Huge play in the game. Another look at it here. We said if it gets us if we rep this every day, and it gets us one extra turnover, it's worth it. If it gets us one extra play, it's worth it. This game right here, we're playing, I think they were 8th or 9th in the country at the time, North Central. And we were down 28-7 with like 9.5 minutes left to go in the game. And we had a 4th and 40. Yeah, really, 4th and 40. And they late hit our quarterback out of bounds, gave us a new set of downs. We scored. 3 and out. We scored. 3 and out. They punt. We returned the punt with under 2 minutes to go to tie the game at 28. This is the next series. So this is the next part of it. We're going to run a blitz, and what's going to happen here is this man right here, it's number 8 again. They're going to convert the first down. And number 8 is going to hit the football out. He's got the ball in the air, and he's going to punch the ball out. That's what he does right off the bat. He said, he runs over after the thing, and he said, he comes right up to me and says, all I could think was punch and clamp. All that came in my head was punch and clamp. It helps us win the football game. You get a really good look at it from the tight here. And he's in the middle. He sees where it's happening. Puts his hand right on the football. right on the ball where it's at. Again, I don't know that it's that good, but he comes back and he's like, hey, coach, that's all I could think in my head was punch and clamp. That's all that was going through my head. Here you're going to get a really good look at we got a couple of these where we're going to take the ball, we're going to get around this man. So he's going to work himself around, punch, he tomahawks, and then clamps. Tomahawk, and then wraps it up. But we want to attack, and we just drill this into our D-line. We want to attack the football. We want to attack the football. We want to sack the ball. Not the quarterback, we want to sack the ball. Quarterbacks have, and the next thing on those, like we had on those, the quarterbacks have bad ball security. You can see him here. He's going to reach across from behind first and hit the ball. He's not just going for the sack. He's going to hit the ball out. That guy ended the year with 6 sack fumbles on the year. 6 of them. 1 year. It's just amazing. Just amazing. Come back from behind, he's going to take the ball, and he's going to hit it out first. That's going to be what he tries to do. I want to get this look right here. So this is on the tight. All right, so what's going to happen on this one is watch our guy that's going to come up the middle of the formation here. Oh, dang it. Offense is checking plays. Too smart for me. Guys, right in the 0 here. So he's going to work up the middle, right? And as he works by, watch his hands. See how he changes his hand? He hits at the ball. We're trying to sack the ball. He doesn't get it. They end up throwing the ball. We don't even get a sack out of it. Quarterback does a great job getting away. But he is after the football. This, to me, that fires me up. Because that guy is buying into what we're saying. We didn't get a sack there, but then the other guys got to do their jobs. But you get a good look at, those guys are trying to sack the football. They're trying to attack the ball. Again, it's going to be this guy again. He's a freakazoid. He's a creature. He's just a creature. He's a freak. Here he comes across here, and you'll see him here. Very conscious. He's going to hit the ball. He's getting the ball. See how the ball even drops. And he's going after the ball. We don't get that thing back, but the point is that we're trying to sack the football. Whenever we're on the quarterback, we're trying to sack the football. And that those terms pop up in their heads as they go at it. It's time for lunch. Everybody's all jacked. Like, get this guy out of here. Thank you, guys. I'll see you.